Good morning and good afternoon to each and every one of our merry Marvelites. Welcome to our second Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness special, filled with spoilers. So this is going to have all the spoilers. So if you haven't seen it, this is not the show for you. Somebody else will do a spoiler-free one, but we're going to talk about all of it. As always, I'm Christian Bladt, continuing the conversation with our friend David Brody making his triumphant return. Hello, David.
Good morning, good afternoon, good night.
Thank you so much for coming back. And of course, listed as Third Eye Blind, the one, the only, semi charmed, kind of Conner, Count Eric Conner. Hello, sir.
Do.
And
Gentlemen.
of course, Jeff was no spoilers the last time we saw him on Marvel Movie Talk. And now Jeff is filled with spoilers.
Yes.
So
I've seen the movie twice, so we can talk about it.
I have also seen it twice. I spoiled it myself for the second time by seeing it the first time, so I knew what was coming. But first time was largely protected. Let's start with our guest, David Brody. Your thoughts on Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness?
Well, first of all, I'd like to be on this podcast enough times that I'm no longer a guest, but I am honored to be a guest.
You're always going to be special, you know, in multiple
well,
senses of the word.
They told that to my parents many years ago.
No, he's on the special bus.
Yes, I had the helmet and everything. So I would like to start off by saying that my wife, who goes to all the movies, has seen them all the shows, loves Marvel, did not enjoy the movie. And we can talk more about that later as to why.
Well, let me just interject for a moment. When a friend of ours who works at Disney and saw it like months ago mentioned that he was surprised at how much of a horror movie it was, my wife in that moment was like, well, I'm out. I don't need to see it. So my wife didn't even get to the point where she saw it. So your wife saw it and felt like she didn't like this one. What was it that your wife didn't like about it?
Well, I think my wife enjoys the Marvel whimsy.
Sure.
And there wasn't a lot of whimsy. There wasn't a lot of humor. There wasn't a lot of inside jokes. And there was a lot of Captain Carter's getting cut in half. So I think that was not what she expected. And more importantly, not what she expected from a Marvel movie. So had she gone in knowing it was a slasher kind of film, or at least the way it was, maybe she would have been more prepared. I think we all have all seen worse. But in that context, she didn't enjoy it. It's not what she went to the movies for, is what she said to me. So,
yeah, I mean, after I went to the screening of it that I had posted for, and I mentioned this in an earlier conversation, I had a friend from high school reach out that she was excited to take her 11-year-old son to see it. And I'm like, all right, I just want you to know a couple things. And she's like, all right, he'll be fine because of what he's seen before. And I'm like, all right, I'm just going to question your parenting skills, I guess, but I'll just leave it at that. It's just an Instagram direct message. So, we'll just move on. But yeah, I was surprised that the level of which, Sam Raimi has made plenty of movies that don't have moments like this. So, I was definitely surprised. I enjoyed the movie on the whole, but I didn't see a lot of that coming. And we'll delve into some more of the minutia. What did you think, Eric? Were you prepared? And you brought your sons, right, to see
Yes,
this?
I did.
And you're so upset that you need a moment with a tissue just to think back on the experience. You beat COVID just in time to actually go to the movies, and now it's got your back.
Yeah, I know. In this multiverse, I guess maybe I have something. What's funny? It's like someone was like, "Oh, well, it's PG. Should it be PG-13?" But I'm really, a lot of horror films are PG-13. Like, and please correct me if I'm wrong. The Grudge, The Ring, like modern horror over the past 20 years, most of it's PG-13. It's rare, in fact, when you get a mainstream R-rated horror. I mean, there's plenty of R-rated horror out there floating around Netflix and whatnot, but like in terms of ones that actually get a little bit of marketing muscle, like they tend to be PG-13. So I didn't find this, and again, you bring up the parenting. It might just be my own flaw of having watched so many horror movies so young, so desensitized to it all. Driving through New York at a young age, learning every filthy word you could over a CB radio. Like, I'm a touch desensitized, but my kids were actually like, okay, like the younger guy, maybe a little nervous once or twice, but I think it was so fun seeing Sam Raimi kind of do Sam Raimi. And Christian, I'm going to quote you because I thought you
please
gave the most succinct sentence about this, which was, he was the perfect guy to direct this movie. This is the type of movie Marvel should be doing right now, or needs to be, as that bridge between where it was and where it seemingly is going. And it was the perfect length. Which is not necessarily like a scream from the rooftop kind of praise, but I very much agreed with that. I loved seeing Sam Raimi's fingerprints all over this thing. I love the fact that we had an Evil Dead reference there, with specifically Bruce Campbell's own hand attacking him.
Yeah.
I mean, that gave me such unbridled joy, because then for me as a parent, I'm like, cool, this is my gateway to introducing my kids to Evil Dead. Maybe not this week, but soon.
Soon enough.
Yeah.
My thoughts on the running time were that there was concern that it was quote unquote only 2 hours and 4 minutes, or 2 hours and 6 minutes. And we've gotten so used to movies being 2.5, 2:45, and in the case of Batman, 3 hours. And I was like, I'd like to turn the tide back closer to 2. And I don't think that I felt like the story was rushed in any way. I think that they spent the right amount of time for it. So, Jeff, I know you spent so much time avoiding spoilers. I think you signed out of any social media that you were on. Maybe you even actually like left the house without your phone a couple of times. Like, that's how hardcore you were. Did you feel like you were rewarded by avoiding all of the spoilers?
Not at all. Not at all.
I kind of knew that was your answer from what you posted,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I wanted to lead
all
you
I had
there,
to do was watch the final trailer to know 90% of the movie. I just didn't know when it was gonna happen. I told Christian, I was like, so watching the trailer, we know that the Illuminati is gonna be in here. We know that four of the 6 Illuminati, 4 of the 7, however many they had, are going to be in this. And then we also know that Wanda is, there's context clues that Wanda's a bad person in the trailer. So like, it was just too much given away in the trailer for me. When I get into the theater, literally everything plays out. We get to the Illuminati. I look at my clock. It's an hour into the movie. So we saw an hour into the movie in a trailer. Why, deep down, why was the Illuminati there? I just didn't have a reason. So there was like some story development issues for me as a big Wanda fan, as a big WandaVision fan. It just seemed like the director did not watch WandaVision. He came out and said he only saw key parts of WandaVision. I was told key parts. You could tell. It was just like, it was very frustrating. But looking back, just taking it in, it was a fun movie because you got to see magic, you got to see Wanda, you got to see new characters and everything. But like, realistically, this is supposed to be the Multiverse of Madness. We've been teased all the different possibilities, literally in the trailer, and they showed us 4 Doctor Stranges at most. We saw more Lokis in the TV series.
So what you're saying is you wanted Alligator Doctor Strange. You feel like you got cheated out of Alligator Doctor Strange,
or at least Yorkshire Terrier Doctor Strange would have been interesting.
I mean, but like they teased the multiverse. They teased the world that we could see, especially in What If, and then like we didn't explore any other worlds. We went to one other world for a couple minutes to go to the Illuminati and get caught. Like it just seemed very, I mean, the world was a lot smaller than what I thought when we were going into it. And then even when we did go through the multiverses, it was only 10 seconds longer than what we saw in the commercial, in the trailer, realistically. So
you're saying you wanted to spend some more time in the Paint multiverse. You thought that was the one to
at
park
least
in.
If we were going to do it, just don't show me in the trailer. Like I felt like I knew everything that was going on.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, I've said this before. I was surprised that we understood that Wanda was going to be a big part of this, but I didn't expect Wanda to be the big bad in the movie. I didn't think that it was really going to be Doctor Strange versus Wanda. And so when they're in that, in that orchard, and then all of a sudden it all turns red, and you're like, and like from the rest of the movie, you're like, oh wow. So I was legitimately surprised by that, because everything they showed us, at the end of No Way Home, they show us that scene in the orchard, and it's like, oh okay, so yeah, she's just kind of doing the like Walden Pond thing where she's isolating so she doesn't use her magic, and then like, nah, it's just kidding, I'm gonna go try and steal my kids from somebody who looks like me. Happy Mother's Day, I'm stealing your kids.
To that point though, I don't know if it was a commercial or where, but I saw like the orchard turn red, like like I saw that scene. I don't know if it was in a trailer, wherever it was, and I told somebody, I was like, I'm pretty sure that's the same exact scene where she's with Doctor Strange. Like It looked like they were like in this, so I knew something was like, that place was fake way before then. And I guess I didn't say it on here or something, because like that kind of clicked for me. I was like, there's no way they're gonna bring both these people in and have this villain that we don't know. They probably tease Nightmare, but like, so I mean, I get what you're saying, but I definitely saw that ahead of time.
No, you're just saying that I'm dumber than you are, which is fine.
No, but like, it looks like Eric hasn't seen it. It looks like Eric hasn't seen it either. So
yeah, no, I
saw
completely.
Yeah, so David saw it.
Oh.
Yeah, so
Go ahead, Eric. You go first.
It's just me, but go ahead, Eric.
No, it wasn't just you. I'll join you on that stupid train then, because truth be told, I did think Scarlet Witch would become the bad as it went on, but her being the bad from the word go was a nice surprise actually. And I guess I didn't see that footage you're alluding to, because although part of me was also like, well, where is she? Like, because she's supposed to be on Earth, and previously she just sort of took a town in Jersey and just made it look like it wasn't in Jersey.
Wherever she was at the end of WandaVision. I mean, she goes off somewhere by herself, and right. I don't. It's like nondescript somewhere.
Yeah, but the idea of like, well, but she's actually in like, I don't know, fiery charred hell. Like I wasn't sure.
Oh, in that sense.
Maybe that's that more Camden, Jersey.
Yeah, so it's very South Jersey.
Yeah.
You beat me to the punch there. Yeah, it's just north of Cape May, so it gets nicer again.
Right.
So David, you sort of felt that was coming. So, what did you think about this idea of having Wanda be the big bad? In comics, we have seen that a number of times, most notably House of M. But it's certainly not the first time. But it's the first time that we really saw one of our Avengers main characters, as Stephen referred to, from the lunchbox, actually take this kind of turn. So, how do you think that played out over the 2 hours and 6 minutes?
Well, I would like to comment on what Jeff said. You saw the Captain Carter shield in the trailer. You saw almost everything in the movie. And we can address this later, but there were things in the trailer, which Marvel always does, that were not in the movie. So we can touch on that later. As far as Wanda being the evil, the big bad, it sort of felt Dark Phoenix to me. Like, it sort of felt like this has been done with a different female character. It was more closely associated with the original X-Men 1983 Dark Phoenix saga, where I felt like, all right, she's going to kill everybody. We get it, and then how are they going to kill her? Or are she going to like revert to goodness again at the end? It didn't seem justified. Like, I understand the book possessed her a little bit, but she's killing against who she normally is. She's killing hundreds of people with no thought, because she wants to be able to get medicine to her kids someday. Like, she had the ability to take the kids, but she wanted America's power just for that extra like gravy on top. I want to be able to get medicine if they get sick. They're 6 years old. Like, you're worried about them getting sick. You're killing hundreds of people because your kids might get an illness 30 years from now. You have magic. I'm sure you can cure cancer with magic. The whole thing seemed a little convoluted to me and out of character for her. And I think we all went into the movie thinking, watch What If, because you're going to have to see Strange Supreme, Sinister Strange. And when he says it all just got a little out of hand, that wasn't even in the movie. That scene, the whole thing was a mislead. Whereas normally Marvel will put in scenes that are a little misleading. They'll edit people out of scenes, so not to give away the punchline. But this was completely like not what you thought. And I think it was to Eric's point about the Illuminati. One of you guys said that. It was just very coincidental that of all the places America took him randomly was the only universe that had an Illuminati that killed their own Doctor Strange and would put him on trial for no reason other than he was Doctor Strange. It was like Loki, where they were capturing Lokis simply because they were Lokis. Like 616 Doctor Strange hadn't done anything, and had they landed in the film noir multiverse, which we saw for a split second, or any one of those multiverses, there's no Illuminati, no plot. It was a completely different movie.
Well, I'll just interject, and I'll let you go in a second, Jeff. It just that may be the only universe where they would have been able to get their hands on the Book of Vishanti. I'm not saying that it isn't it isn't a little far-fetched and surprising, but that might be the justification, is that they were able to actually get it there. So and maybe just nowhere else had, because we know in most of the universes he hadn't even found it. So that could be what it was. What were you going to say, Jeff?
Who broke the multiverse? Because I feel like I still don't know. Because it wasn't Wanda, because all she did was generate kids. And then it wasn't, I guess I thought it was Sylvie and Loki, but they didn't bring them up in the movie at all. Yeah. Even though Kevin Feige, unless I missed something, even though Kevin Feige said something on the red carpet about how they broke it, nothing came to fruition. And even on the trial, I was like, did he break it? Did he not? I was still kind of confused at who actually broke it, because all these things happened at once.
I think I can partially answer that.
Sure, go ahead.
There's two problems with that, Jeff. One is that Spider-Man was supposed to take place after Doctor Strange.
Right.
And so this is why Doctor Strange never referenced Spider-Man, because he could have said oh, I did that because I split the multiverse with the spell.
Right. Well, they do explain Spider-Man.
It was a passing reference, though.
Right. It was a very right. They added it in.
Yeah.
The Kevin Feige thing wasn't who split the multiverse. It was that by killing He Who Remains, it allowed the multiverse to become the multiverse, and it allowed Doctor Strange's spell with Spider-Man to do what it did. In other words, that would have been pruned. Gotcha. That would have been pruned immediately by the Tom variants, the TVA, but it wasn't, because Sylvie and Loki Sylvie killed He Who Remains, allowing this sort of mayhem to happen. But I think it was because of incursions that the multiverse planets are starting to crash into each other. And we can get into incursions and how that leads to secret wars at some point. But I think that's what caused the problem was incursions, not Strange. Right.
Yeah, it's interesting, because if you have enough incursions, you could actually create a crisis on Infinite Earths. But boy, that's not really something that they can do. That's not a story that they're able to tell. But that is actually what I started thinking. What were you going to say, Eric?
Yeah, I'm still surprised. And listen, we know it's common knowledge they had to reshuffle so much. Wasn't this supposed to at some point be set before WandaVision?
I think I don't know, because
no, this was the sequel.
Yeah,
sorry.
No, what the original plan was, this was going to come out a month after WandaVision. That's actually what the time frame was. There were multiple release dates.
I'll have to find this. Yeah. I found this great interview with Sam Raimi where they talked about how much they had to rewrite based on the reshuffling of the releases, and so in essence, and also too, he came in, as we know, kind of late in the game, because Scott Derrickson dropped out. The Illuminati moment, I did want to bring up, though, because, listen, seeing Krasinski pop up as Reed Richards, it's funny, in the audience I was at, people freaked out a little bit on that, but then when Patrick Stewart came out, everyone went insane, which was confusing to me, because we all kind of knew that one. But John Krasinski getting sort of maybe announced as Reed Richards, that to me was a game changer. But my issue with that scene, even though I'm so excited for the possibilities in that room, I found it to be writing wise, and now, ladies and gentlemen, the Illuminati. It's the most unstylish, unpoetic way to introduce new characters. Is literally all of them are being introduced. That was comic book or cartoon writing from the Super Friends, where literally it's introductions of characters as introductions, as opposed to one I thought was great was Daredevil in Spider-Man.
Yeah.
where he's in the room, he's his lawyer, and then you have that great moment of him catching the brick with his hand, So I found like the Illuminati, it was such a unelegant way to introduce them. I did like killing them all. I think there's something kind of funny about that, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I found that moment just felt like here's an exposition dump.
Right.
And usually
I
the
mentioned
Marvel
this
writers are
before.
better than that.
I mentioned this before, but the fact that they still used Anson Mount as Black Bolt was great because we know that the Inhumans series was not well received, and we also talked about how that was a good week for Anson Mount because the same week that Star Trek: Strange New Worlds premiered, he shows up in this big Marvel movie. As gruesome as the deaths were, I think to me that was the most horrifying. Was the Black Bolt losing his mouth and.
I would also put that's one of the great movie deaths I think we've ever seen. Like I've seen a lot of them. That one is like, it's clever. I mean, it was, the audience's reaction was brilliant. Like it was like, oh, so
the best part about it is it was set up. He's like, oh, Reed Richards, the smartest man in the world. And then he's like, Wanda, he has a mouth. He literally just gave away the way that like Wanda could get through this, like get away from Black Bolt. And I'm like, he ain't that smart. I just thought it was kind of funny how they played onto that.
Yeah, no, and both audiences I saw were surprised by everything. And as I mentioned when I did an earlier conversation with our friend Kate, that is the thing that our mutual friend Michael Shirley texted me, was the TMZ article that says John Krasinski's in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. It's the second thing that he's spoiled in a Marvel movie for me. Trying to be helpful, according to him. And, because there's only really one person he could be playing. It didn't make the scene not enjoyable. It just made it not surprising. Before we delve back into the movie, Kemi Egan has a great point. Do you think John Krasinski is definitely going to be our Mr. Fantastic in the film just for fan service? I don't think it's definite. I do think it's very likely that we could see him. But I think that this is the sort of property that he's probably wanted to be associated for a while. But yeah, we might get someone else. What we didn't get, there were rumors that we were going to see like Tom Cruise as an alternate Sorcerer Supreme or an alternate Stephen Strange. There was a lot of like rumored cameos that didn't happen. So I don't know. I mean, the way it is, I wouldn't be surprised if it was him, but also the door's open. They can have anybody that they would like to play. Maybe the guy from the Roger Corman version. That would be fine too. I mean, it's only been about 30 years.
He's a
Wouldn't it be weird? Wouldn't it be weird though, like if some of the Illuminati is the same people and then some aren't? Because it's not like we're gonna have Professor X throughout the rest of the MCU, as in like Patrick Stewart.
Yeah. I mean, watching him trudge through Star Trek Picard, I don't know how much more in front of the camera he has. I hope he lives a long, healthy life. It's just, I think that we probably won't see him as Professor Xavier much. Go ahead, finish your thought.
No,
Jeff,
I mean,
sorry.
so to that point, so it's like you would assume that all the Illuminati are just different characters, and we're going to see a different iteration of them in our MCU, as in Captain Marvel, as in I'm assuming a different Black Bolt, but you never know. But like, they also never introduce how these characters can be in the MCU. We still don't know how mutants can come around. We still haven't seen a Fantastic Four or Inhumans yet. So it's like, these are just beings that we don't know about, I guess.
Yeah. Well, David, you were shaking your head earlier, so go ahead. Yeah.
Well, a couple of things. Tom Cruise was supposed to be Iron Man. If I can
okay, you know what? You're right. That is what it was. I forgot. Yeah.
So I was disappointed that there weren't, like, when they went through the multiverses, like for 10 seconds, as Jeff said, boom, 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 boom. I would have liked to have seen Deadpool in the background. I would have liked to have seen some explanation. Now, you had said Crisis on Infinite Earths. The direct correlation to that in Marvel is Secret Wars, not the one from the 80s, but the one that was from 2015. And if you've read it, what happens there is that there's an incursion and a lot of different universes collide. Dr. Doom has forms something called a battle planet where all of the heroes from a bunch of different multiverses fight, and then it collapses on itself, and then they take the best of a bunch of universes and make it one final universe. So I'm not saying they're going to get rid of it.
you know, I only read the real Secret Wars, the one from the 80s. So that
Right.
literally is Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Right.
They literally
right.
took that story and turned it into Secret
Right.
Wars. Okay.
You read the Beyonder version, which is
Yeah.
the Secret Wars 1, Secret Wars 2.
Yeah.
But then they did another one. And
Well, I'm just going to interrupt. We don't talk about Secret Wars 2.
Okay.
We never
No,
talk
we
about
Except
don't.
for his suit. His all white suit was pretty
just his
nasty.
mullet. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We only
Secret
talk
Wars
about
2
his
is pretty
mullet.
bad. I do have about 20 copies of I think it's Secret Wars 7 or 8, maybe, which was the first appearance of Venom. So I'm thankful I got a lot of those. Yes, well, yes, absolutely. Good job. And I was happy to see the Scarlet Scarab appear in Moon Knight because I have the Invaders issue that
Nice.
Scarlet Scarab was in. So
Very nice.
there you go. And so if it plays out, the way it would play out is that Strange and Clea, who, by the way, they should have said, "Hi, I'm Clea."
Yeah.
You created a rift. Instead, they're like, "Hi, I'm someone who looks like it could be Psylocke or Polaris. I could be anybody. Come with me." And he's like, "Okay, I don't know your name, but you know."
Or she could have even been her character from Atomic Blonde, you know,
Or Monster.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, she wasn't her character from Monster. Let's be honest.
So Strange and Clea go to fight incursions,
yeah,
and that leads to incursions that lead to the next Endgame type movie, which is Secret Wars.
Yeah.
And that will create the mutants being able to come in and the Fantastic Four being able to come in because they'll have fought on the planet and they will get sucked up the same way Crisis on Infinite Earths did, where they picked and chose the people they wanted. So I think that was the way they're going to explain it down the road, maybe.
David, do you think we definitely wouldn't see John Krasinski as Reed Richards, or do you think that that it's sort of like even money at this point? It's going to just depend on whoever the new director is. That's not John wants to cast.
He could be the new director.
I agree.
I think
John Krasinski.
I think he's already shown interest in doing that, and I think they've shown interest. I think of all the Illuminati, he was the weakest in terms of his costume or his uniform was kind of weak looking. It looked like it was Play-Doh. And I didn't like the beard. It was like he had the beard for a different movie and didn't want to shave it for 5 minutes of this movie.
Yeah, no, it's like Jack Ryan has a beard for some reason. So Reed Richards. Now Reed Richards currently in the comics does have a beard, so I'm like, all right, I guess that's why. Before we delve back in, just Daniel always bringing us information that I wasn't aware of. So Daniel says that he read somewhere that 40 to 45 minutes of stuff were cut, so there are extensive deleted scenes. We'll see. So Jeff, that might be all the stuff that's not in the trailer. So that they were just like, no, that's not in the trailer. We don't need it. That's not in the trailer. We don't need it. That's not in
the
trailer,
Jeff Williams cut is coming out. I understand.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah,
I'll review that later.
Yeah, let's take a moment though to talk about a character that we get to meet right away, who I thought was fantastic. And Jeff, let me know what you think of America Chavez. I believe her name is Xochitl Gomez, but her name starts with an X. So I'm really bad at pronouncing words that are in English. So I hope I'm saying her name right. But what did you think of America Chavez, Jeff?
I believe you're correct as well. I've watched interviews with her, and I think that's how she's pronouncing it as well. I enjoyed her character. I thought it was really cool. I thought it was like I don't know who said this, but it was like Tom Holland or Spider-Man in coming into Civil War. It was just something fresh. It was something new, especially to go to bounce off of Doctor Strange and Wong's seriousness. Even though they have a certain banter, having a little kid, having a teenager kind of join them in a sense, and also know more than them in the multiverse was kind of cool. Again, her story should have been more developed. They picked their pieces to check some boxes, but it is what it is. And I think her powers were cool. As soon as especially like to see at the end how she was like punching stars into Wanda, and then she like started to know exactly what she could do and stuff. So I really enjoyed her character in this movie.
Yeah, I'm familiar in passing with the character. I haven't read anything that she's in, but I knew that she's somebody that was going to be in this movie. So I thought it was great to see. And yeah, I mean, there was so much going on with Steven and his backstory and all of that I think that they gave us enough, unless, of course, you're going to be watching the Chinese cut of this movie where there will be no reference to her having two moms. So I'm just assuming that whole part won't be in there. You know,
they'll dub it. It'll just be my mom and her friend.
Yeah, or my aunt.
Yeah, that's
my
true.
aunties.
Yeah, but but it's true. Maybe she'll just say, yeah, like my two aunts, and that's but that's the big change. That
Is
so
there
when
gonna
we
be like a
saw that
little?
when we saw that scene, I was like, oh, this is this is the part that that's not gonna, or they'll just tell you that in Spanish, mis madres means, yeah, my mom and her friend she goes
Yeah.
bowling with.
My mom and her friend.
It's a good thing Wanda didn't have 3 kids and have to cut one of the kids out for China,
That's a great
Exactly.
point. That's an
So-
excellent point.
They
ahead,
replace
Jeff.
him with a potted plant in every shot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Were they trying to say that she's part of the LGBTQ community as well because of the flag on her chest? Is
Well,
that
she
like
has the
the only
flag.
reference?
Yeah, I mean, I think that
Or did I
mean,
did
she
I
has
did I miss
she has
like
the 2 moms.
Her
So
ca-
yeah,
isn't her
you know what? I
character-
don't know.
I mean,
That's a
like-
good question. Are they going to digitally, alter the pin? I didn't even
like-
think about that. I just figured that the scene with her moms is what they would cut
I
out.
mean,
But I
what
actually don't know.
was there any dialogue to say that she was lesbian though, or like?
No.
Okay, that's what I
no.
was. Okay, just wondering.
No, there wasn't anything along those lines. But David, give us your thoughts on America and of course Xochitl Gomez, who plays her.
Well, I would think maybe China leaves in the scene because then they could say America has lesbian parents, and that would be truthful because her name's America. I liked her. I thought the actress was great. I would like to have seen more of her. I know originally she was going to be in Spider-Man, and whether that was going to take place before or after this movie, I don't know. I did correct. Now, help me out here with this scene with America. So we learned that Scarlet Witch somehow brings her into our universe, right? She has the chaos magic monster kill Defender Strange, and then she teleports or is forced to teleport to our world for Wanda, right? Wanda brings her here. Wanda, the most powerful being in the universe. Why does Wanda bring her a block away from a wedding that Stephen Strange is at when she just killed Doctor Strange and then brings her to the universe right outside the wedding where Doctor Strange in this universe is?
I love glaring plot holes, but I don't think she brought her there because what they say at the end, you've had the ability to go home all along, Dorothy.
Right.
That moment where it's like you always brought us where we needed to go, which that then goes back to like why did they go to where they would have to go on trial with the Illuminati. But yeah, I think that she brought herself there because I thought that they at least addressed the fact that Wanda didn't want it to look like she was trying to steal her powers, and that's why they used the monsters. And I'm like, it's not a great explanation, but it's at least you took the time to tell us why. And there was a couple of those moments in the movie where I was like, sometimes just tell us something, and if it doesn't add up, at least you tried. What were you going to say, Eric?
Yeah, well, I was going to say, it does feel like America did drive more of her journey than it first seemed. And in fact, that was one of my, I think, issues initially with her. And again, I think character's great, actor, really cool. And something that comes up a lot here, the Young Avengers. I mean, we have so many pieces of the Young Avengers now that, like, honestly, it's all they have to say is go, and we've got them. But I thought for a while there, her character, it was just a little bit too, like, always seemed to be just sort of like luggage kind of being carried from scene to scene. But then towards the end, you begin to realize, like maybe she did drive more of the narrative than it initially seemed. So I, if anything, I was just kind of hoping maybe they could have let her arc not be so backloaded, where you had the power all along, and then one scene like, oh, cool, I could do all this. Like, I think there could have been a little bit more of a ramp up to that.
That's fair. Eric, I know you've got about 10 minutes left, so I want you to steer this next portion of the conversation to things that really stood out the most to you, things that you enjoyed the most, or complaints. Big thoughts from Eric Conner, which that should be its own podcast. Big thoughts from Eric Conner coming soon to the Bladt Network.
That could fill a thimble, basically. Big thoughts from me. I thought the middle in this thing, for instance, like dragged a little bit, where I was like, okay. But then it perpetually surprised me. Like, bringing in John Krasinski in only to kill him. That was fun.
Yeah.
The fight scene that was basically the greatest weapon of all is Danny Elfman. We're using his music as weaponizing notes. I'm like, all right, I haven't seen that. And, and I agreed with David's wife that it missed maybe some of the humor and some of the whimsy, I think is how you put it. And so I thought like those moments that had a bit of whimsy, always appreciated. The thing Marvel's figured out much better than DC. At the wedding when he turned water into wine and he goes, sorry, is that a little on the nose? I mean, that's really clever, you know?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And, you know, just sort of now we've had 2 consecutive movies where we go to the well of just where do Spider-Man's webs come from?
Yeah. Oh, I
And,
love that line.
but I thought that was actually really funny because it's
Yeah.
like, do they come out of his butt? And he's like, no, actually, I don't know. I hope not. The I hope not was the one that actually made
Yeah,
me laugh. And I
that
didn't
was
even hear
great.
it the first time I saw it because people were laughing.
Uh,
Yeah.
and
But
the
so, yeah,
relationship
I
with
know what you're
Wong
saying,
is still
though. A little
great.
bit more of that would go a long way. Sort of those
It
moments.
could have used a bit more. I mean, I love his relationship with Wong.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of the great relationships in all of the MCU. So I was nervous Wong wasn't making out of this film. But I was glad. Although I thought less of that when he popped up in Shang-Chi, but
Yeah.
I think like he has become such a you know, the Coulson right role, like that guy who is in some ways an everyman, even though he is Sorcerer Supreme. Yeah, again, overall, I think this maybe falls in the middle of the pack with MCU, but I do think having a Sam Raimi, letting Sam Raimi be Sam Raimi, I thought was great. You know, that moment you described earlier where they're jumping from dimension to dimension, you know, multiverse to multiverse, which felt like that moment in Inside Out, where like, oh no,
Oh,
we're
yeah.
going 2D.
Mm.
I that moment was so amazing to me, and it was like, yeah, we've seen stuff like that done before, but the fact that that shot kept going and going and going far past the moment you think they would yell cut, you know, I thought was really not yell cut, but they'd throw an edit in there. It surprised me enough as it went on that it really did grab me. I enjoyed this movie. I know it's got its haters, but nah, I ain't one of them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's interesting. Sort of the look. There's a backlash to everything at this point. There's backlashes to backlash, but I mean, when I saw the movie, I was like, I don't know what there is to really not be happy about in terms of advancing the story. I mean, yeah, it's certainly not perfect. Jeff, I think that your biggest complaint was that you had seen the stuff, but it seems like your feeling is that a lot of the stuff in there is still cool. You just wish that they hadn't shown you so much of it, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. Seeing Wanda destroy Kamar-Taj was my favorite. Is my favorite. I could watch that all over again. Her sneaking behind the dude's head and like
Yeah.
whispering in his ear, seeing like the original Scarlet Witch or Wanda that we saw fight the Avengers. I really enjoyed that. Um, I mean my stripes with this movie are kind of nitpicky, but I mean it's because we care so much about I care so much about Wanda's storyline. It's like there's parts and pieces, but it's also like there's things that happen. They had to work around it, but like to hear the director say that he hasn't seen a lot of WandaVision and then see it play out, those are the frustration points with me. But yeah, as a whole, I enjoyed the movie for sure.
Eric, I know
I
you
I
have
do
to
want to
leave, but go ahead. Go ahead,
I
Jeff.
do
It's
want to
okay.
say
He's
one
got
thing. I
5
would have.
minutes. It's not, yeah.
I'm fine.
Sorry,
No, no.
all you.
I want to hear Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff,
I just
finish your
wanted I
thought
just wanted to
because
say one
Eric,
thing.
you found the quote you wanted to talk about. So, Jeff, finish your thought, and then Eric's going to tell us the Sam Raimi quote that he's got. Yeah.
I just would have liked them to explore the multiverse the same way they did in Endgame when they went to collect the stones, where we actually saw different scenes, even if it was quicker, just with like random characters. I felt like that could have been a way to explore the multiverse. That's all I was saying.
That makes sense. So, all right. So, Eric, what is this Sam Raimi WandaVision quote that you were looking for mentally before, but
And then found physically. Yeah.
yes.
So this was from the newest Rolling Stone, because yes, I'm one of those schmucks who still subscribes to magazines.
I mean, the fact that you subscribe to Rolling Stone just doubles down what a schmuck you are. But let's
Yeah,
finish.
we know this. WandaVision was supposed to come after this movie, which shifted some of the story and continuity. How these changes work? So that was from the interviewer. And Sam Raimi said, "I'm not really sure that what the WandaVision schedule was or how it changed. I just know that halfway or 3/4 into the film, or into the writing process, I'd first heard of this show they were doing and that we would have to follow it. Therefore, we had to really study what WandaVision was doing so we could have a proper through line and character growth dynamic. So
it's
it's
really
only
like
more confusing, honestly, when you hear
well,
that quote.
the takeaway there is that he wasn't able to watch it because it wasn't done.
Yeah,
So,
okay, that makes sense.
But
Yeah.
that's
The
still
script for that at least.
Yeah.
And and I don't blame him. And I blame Marvel and Kevin Feige more than I blame Sam Raimi in that sense. This is his movie, but like if you're supposed to connect to a greater world, you have to tell him what the greater world is. That's all I'm saying.
And you mentioned Danny Elfman, and Ghost 8386 points out the music duel Bach and Wagner, I think is how you say that. At least I caught myself. During their battle, pieces from Bach and Wagner can be heard throughout Elfman's musical score for Doctor Strange 2, so throughout the entire thing.
No, it wasn't Wagner. It wasn't Wagner. It was Jack Wagner.
See, when I read it originally, I thought it was Kip Winger. So I'm just all over the place.
I thought it was
Eric,
Mark Wahlberg. Wait a minute.
There are good vibrations throughout the entire movie.
That's it, yeah.
Well, Eric, I know you have to go. And what better way to go on that note than feel it. So, Eric, where can people find you and your own personal funky bunch?
Well, as Jack Wagner once sang many years ago in General Hospital, the four of you plus Caitlin and Michael and all you readers and listeners, whatever, you're all I need, and that and a little more time. So if you want a little more time with me, Conner over at Twitter and Instagram.
Thank you so much, and we will talk to you soon. Thank
Miss
you
you already.
to Count Eric Conner. But sort of similar questions for both of you. What are the big things that your big observations, David, from the movie? It seems like in general you're happy with it, but I think that topping Spider-Man was going to be out of the question. But do you feel like typically you're happy with the way that the film turned out? Were you just hoping for more in terms of length, in terms of depth? What's your overall thoughts on the film, David?
Well, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it like a 7.5, 8. Whereas I normally leave a Marvel movie thinking, I can't wait to own this. This is the greatest thing I've ever watched. Because you have recent bias, right? Where you go, oh, that's the greatest thing I've seen. Yeah. All I could think of was, well, it was better than the Eternals. Right. I was thinking about the scenes and what I liked, what I didn't like. And I think I was left like Jeff, where the trailer had, let's say, 20 pounds of stuff. Right. And so I was expecting 70 pounds of stuff because I've seen 20 pounds. And what I got was like 26 pounds. I got a little more than the trailer, but I didn't get this epic thing, which, they did a thing on Twitter over the weekend where they rated the, what is it? The fourth
phase 4.
Phase 4, right? Yeah. Phase 4. They rated the Phase 4 movies, and a lot of people rated Black Widow and Eternals above this movie, which I thought was harsh because Eternals was terrible in comparison to most Marvel movies, and Black Widow was okay. But if people really thought those were better than this movie, that's unfortunate because this was better than those.
I would say, yeah. I mean, and I'm on the record that there were a lot of things about Eternals that I liked, but this is certainly better than it.
Yeah.
I mean, Black Widow. It's like it's a good story, but the problem was always it came like 6 years too late. Like the point in the timeline it was set is when that movie should have come out, and it's almost like you feel like it's a movie it's like a Marvel movie that we all didn't like. We forgot it came out, and you came across it, and you're like, oh, well, this fills in some answers, I guess. And why is the new Black Widow better than the old one? But what were you going to say, Jeff?
I don't have it above. I filled it out as well. I don't have it above Doctor Strange, but Black Widow pretty much checked off every box an MCU fan would want. Like the action was there,
sure.
The comedy was there, new characters were there. Like it hit the box of the generic MCU films, what you want. So like that's why I could see people saying, okay, it did what I wanted it to do. And Doctor Strange, I was sold on something and it didn't do what I was like, so I see what people are getting at, but like, I mean, you can't really put it. it's just not the same. Even
But-
even though Doctor Strange 2 didn't live up to what I assumed it was going to be, because they promoted the possibilities all in my head. So it might be on me, but I'm with David. Like, I have a 7.5 when I watched that movie.
Yeah, but also, I mean, that's a great rating. Not everything is going to be the best thing.
100%.
And then for you, Jeff, it just passes the litmus test that it's not Morbius and it's not Venom 2. So right there, it's already going to be great.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, like, if it was even remotely close to those, I would. I don't know if I would do the review, because I don't want to talk that bad about Marvel movie like that. I could talk bad about a Sony movie. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
But,
no, everybody's here to talk bad about Sony movies when they come out. You know? Just I'm like, mentally, I'm
Never.
preparing what I've already got such a bias against the Kraven the Hunter movie that you know, and they're not even done filming it yet. So I know
Just
exactly what
hopeful.
you're saying. Yeah, but David, yeah, to your point, not everything you see is going to be the best thing ever. Like, you know, different universe. But when people said that they thought that the new Batman movie was the best Batman movie, I'm like, I mean, if you feel that way, sure. Maybe it's so long you forgot the other ones, but it's like, we just had 3 great ones from Christopher Nolan. So you're saying this is better than all of them. And that's fine. It's everybody's opinion. But yeah, usually the newest Marvel movie is the best Marvel movie. And I mean, I don't think that that's really been true for Phase 4. You know, I think, like, you know, Endgame was kind of the time where it was like, all right, this actually did top everything. And I've enjoyed all of everything that's come after it, but I don't compare it to that. And I wasn't comparing this to Spider-Man expecting to enjoy it on that level, you know? But
Do you
go ahead, Jeff.
what movie coming up do you think is going to be the best movie in the MCU thus far? Because we have
Guardians 3.
Thor.
I think Guardians 3
Okay.
is going to be really good. There's and James Gunn has referenced a few times that there's someone in it that we still don't know, that we as an audience still don't know. There's like pictures from behind the scenes that he's like, I wanted to post this picture with Zoe Saldana, but there's an actor in the picture with her that I can't you know what I mean? So there's something surprising in there. And I would just love it if we don't know what that surprise is until, you know, it could be who's playing Adam Warlock. I mean, it could be so many different, or it could just be a character we already know. I think, I don't know. I don't like look at what's coming, and, you know, look, yeah, you can put an order of like what I'm excited about. And I think the Marvels is probably what I'm the least excited for, but it's also got the potential. I mean, if it's going to have Carol, and it's going to have Kamala Khan, and it's going to have Monica, you know, it potentially could be great. It's just, you look at what's coming, and I feel like, you know, I know what I'm excited for, you know, and Guardians to me seems like you're talking about checking all the boxes. I think Guardians going to check off all the boxes. But it's a good point. What about you, David? Is there something that you're looking the most forward to? And then also the reverse of that, is there something that you're like, oh boy, we got to sit through something? You know?
I would agree with you on Guardians, unless Sam Raimi directs it or has any impact, and then Groot starts decapitating people.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe there's gonna be a second unit reshoots. It's just Sam Raimi. Yeah,
yeah. If Guardians is Guardians, and it's because Thor is in Guardians, so I love that. And whether it's Adam Warlock or Nova, I mean, Nova's been he's gonna have his own movie at some point.
Yeah,
and he wasn't in the Nova Corps when they wiped out Nova Corps, so he's due. So I feel like that's a high level character that would make an impact. So I think Thor will be interesting. I think I think it's Gore, the God Killer, is the villain in that. Yeah. I think that's going to be great. I think we're going to eventually, once Thor gets over his melodramatic bullshit, that he will eventually be like the God of Thunder by the end of the movie. Hopefully it doesn't take the whole movie for that to happen. But I think Guardians, because of the ensemble cast, because of the humor, and because it's the last one with Drax that we know of, I think it's going to be an epic film, you know, spanning the universe. And I think there's a lot more opportunity there, that I think it'll be the movie we wanted this year. You know, like right now with Doctor Strange, I think that's the movie to look forward to. The Marvels, I think I'm more excited about Iron Wars.
Yeah.
Right. If I had to guess, or the, what's the Skrull one? Is it the
Secret Invasion?
Secret Invasion.
Yeah.
I'm excited about that, because we may see that Certain characters we thought were not Skrulls are Skrulls. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there. But yeah, the Marvels. Listen, I'm still loyal to the original Captain Marvel that they killed they gave cancer to. And who doesn't miss Ms. Marvel in the skirt with the sash?
I mean, the fact that you know, she had the sad. Well, yeah. So there's that one, but then there's her original costume where you could see her belly button. That's the most 70s. Yeah,
the
blue
bikini
one,
bottom.
The blue one, which is the one that the current is, it's close enough to what the current Ms. Marvel wears. That's a much better costume, you know, at least functional. But yeah, the fact that they were like, oh, she's Ms. Marvel. And you know, and it's like empowering, but take a look at those abs, you know.
Right.
So
it was still a female offshoot of like She-Hulk and Spider-Woman, and
yeah,
it was still a female offshoot, but they mizzed her, and so that, like you said, it was empowerment, which is confusing for the new one because she spells it Ms, but they pronounce it Miss, correct?
You know what? I didn't actually think about that. I think you might be right though. That might be how
I think it's
pronounce
Miss.
it.
Yeah, it's Miss, but it's spelled Ms.
Yeah.
So they empowered her, but then they depowered the word.
Yeah.
So.
Well, look, the timing for Ms, you know, I mean, look, we had Ms. Pac-Man, you know, so like that's a very specific moment in time. Not that Ms still isn't a thing.
Never got to see her abs though.
Yeah, but for our visual audience, this is what we're talking about. This is the original. This isn't the first appearance of Carol Danvers. This is the first appearance of her as Ms. Marvel, though.
Correct.
She like worked security at the the military base. But yeah, this was and you know, her backstory that she like worked at the magazine for the Daily Bugle. It was just like, all right, clearly you got to do a little bit more time on that. And I believe Jerry Conway wrote the initial run, and then Chris Claremont wrote it right up until the end when it got canceled. So they did what they could with that. But anyway, I think in general, I'm happy with Doctor Strange. I went to go see it again because I walked out of it like I enjoyed it, but I was like, a lot of times for these movies, you know, you're so like excited about like what surprise is going to be in here, what's going to happen. And then you can kind of relax sometimes the second time. So I went on like Friday late morning and I watched it again, and it was great because you saw it with another crowd of people that hadn't had it spoiled yet. So you had legitimate surprises, and you know, there are the little touches. Caitlin and I talked about this. When you don't just have Charles Xavier roll in, but you also play what is credited as the X-Men 97 theme, but it's the theme from the animated series, which they'll be using for X-Men 97. So it's the little touches like that. People want to see John Krasinski as Reed Richards. Maybe he won't ever actually be Reed Richards again. So I think that sometimes fan service can be annoying, but I think that the cue from the X-Men animated series, the musical cue from that, for me, I was just like, I know why they did this, and I'm really glad they did it. What do you think about that, David? Do you just accept the fact that is what it was, but it's so much cooler than if they'd used like the score from the 2000 Bryan Singer X-Men?
Oh, I think it was clear from the yellow wheelchair, the floating wheelchair, that it was, and the green suit, that it was X-Men 97.
Yeah.
And the music was great. I think people in my crowd got that.
Yeah.
Like they were like, oh my God, it's the music, right?
Yeah.
I think Marvel being true to the original costumes, like making Black Bolt look like Black Bolt with the tuning fork on his head.
Yeah.
I think the TV shows and the early, like the Fox stuff, they tried to dumb down the costuming. I think giving Scarlet Witch her real costume and Black Bolt and like going all out was, although Wanda didn't have sleeves in WandaVision at the end, and now she had sleeves. So I'm not sure she created sleeves for herself because it was cold. I don't know. I will say, if I could just jump, because it's reminding me of costumes. Everyone said you had to watch episodes 1, 4, 8, and 9 of What If, right? You had to watch those episodes. You had to watch episode 1 for Captain Carter. That's it, because Supreme Strange wasn't in the movie.
Right. I thought he was going to be in the movie, and that's the only episode of What If that I really liked. The Captain Carter one was fine, but that episode 4, I believe, it was the only one I liked, and I just expected from the trailer, I thought that was the Steven that we saw, you know, the one that he has the Danny Elfman.
Right. Things just got out of hand.
Yeah. That's who I thought we were going to see. But so when it wasn't, it was like, oh, okay, this is a darker version of Stephen Strange, but not as dark as that one. So it's a little bit of a letdown.
Well, here's what Cumberbatch said in an interview. He said, for the record, the character was not, in fact, Strange Supreme, but an even more menacing version, Sinister Strange. So it was not the one from What If. So Sinister Strange was the one he spiked on the fence. And Strange Supreme, which, I went and did my research, watched the episodes again to get ready for that character, wasn't in the movie. Now, maybe he got cut out of the movie in the 45 minutes, but...
Right. That would stand to reason. One of the topics I did want to address, Ivan mentions Zombie Strange wasn't the What If Strange. Yes, that's a different zombie. But I thought that that was one of the most Sam Raimi things in the movie, that he does the dream walking, but as a character that our friend Caitlin referred to as Frankenstrange. I was calling him Zombie Strange, but I think Frankenstrange is better. I thought that that was a really interesting choice. And, just for a creep, basically it makes it, the Sam Raimi-ness of this movie means that it's probably an extra 2 years before my kid sees this one. He's not ready for any of them yet. He's 6, but this one's going to be a little bit later than all that. But what did you think about the dream walking with the zombified corpse of Stephen Strange, Jeff?
I enjoyed it. I was excited to see the zombies. Even though she wasn't a zombie, when Wanda was getting out of the mirror dimension, how she was like cracking her body to get back to normal. Like I thought that was really cool. Again, it's something we haven't really seen into the MCU, and something I hope we dabble more into with Moon Knight and Blade and that kind of, and those type of characters, more of the Sam Raimi world and aspect and view of this, the undead, I guess. So I enjoyed all of it. I thought the action was really cool, even though I said a lot of like problems with the story. Visually, the zombies were cool to me. I thought they were really great.
Yeah, and what did you think sort of about that sequence, David? Watching
loved it. I mean, I would have liked to have seen Defender Strange in more of the movie than just the first scene.
Right.
But when it was Chavez who said to him, well, whoever said it to him, you need to have his
I think it was
Christine, where she said there has to be a body or in that universe. I immediately thought of the dead one, and then they did it. I thought that was a brilliant way to let him dream walk, where it wasn't kitschy. It wasn't like, oh, so convenient. It was brilliantly done. I loved it. I loved when the arms, he made the wings, and that whole scene when he took power of them, of the evil souls, like the Death Eaters type creatures.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he made them arms and wings, and he flew. I thought that was fantastic. No complaints about that. Really enjoyed that. I didn't find that to be too gory or horrific. It was right on the money, just the right level of Marvel evilness. Loved it.
Right. It's not like watching a Benedict Cumberbatch impaled on a wrought iron fence, that was just like, I'm like, all right, now you're just trying, but still, it made its point. I'm glad you brought up Christine, because one of the things when we had our first conversation about this, Caitlin and I didn't talk enough about her. I mean, the one thing that I think was important was just this idea that, it's the thing that the Strange from episode 4 of What If couldn't learn, that no, you're not with her in any of these universes. It just doesn't work out. No matter what you do, no matter how many times you try, it's actually not going to work out. But the importance of the watch, I thought was a sort of a nice touch. And then I think it's important. There's sort of the two moments towards the end, that him putting the new face on the watch, and then literally having the new face with the third eye. That was, I thought, some of us from the show, we just did a special for Geekscape where we read The Way of the Weird, a Doctor Strange story. And, I'd seen comics where he'd had the third eye before, but it was very prominent and something I'd literally just read the week before I saw the movie. So I thought it was cool to finally see it. And I thought it was a great ending, but I also appreciated, like, we have Clea, even though we don't actually know. I think a "Hello, my name is Clea" sticker would have actually gone a long way.
Yeah, absolutely.
But what did you think of that ending, sort of in the moment with the third eye, David?
I liked it. I mean, he has had it multiple ways in the comics. He had the Eye of Agamotto in his head. I think now he has the eye, or in some of the storylines. So I get it. My only question would be, the Darkhold has been destroyed, right? But it's
Yeah.
still in him because he used the Darkhold. Wanda didn't get a third eye, so I'm wondering if he got it because he's a sorcerer and not a witch. She didn't have any physical problems from that. She had the evilness, but if that's the case, she will never be Wanda again because she'll always be slightly, a little bit evil, right? So I don't know how that affects her. Or they just write it off and hope you didn't pay attention to that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's why they had her drop a mountain on herself, because she feels like, this needs to be contained. I would suspect that we would certainly see her again, but I don't think we'll see her for a little while just because of the stories that are coming.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to see her for a while. So I think whenever we do see her again, it'll be a good surprise, and then we'll have to see what the repercussions are. I did like the little touch that she had the black fingertips. And just, from a storytelling standpoint, just watching her kids like throw stuff at her because they're so scared of her. I was just like, I thought that was a really nice moment for the climax of that part of the story for America to be like, these are the kids that you want. And now they see you, and look what you're doing to try and get them. And you're trying to steal them from this Wanda,
And they kind of made that Wanda a wimp. I mean, she heard noises and she ran with the bowls and she was scared and she never fought back
until she got out of that like pocket dimension or whatever. I actually thought that maybe that Wanda didn't have powers. That was my first thought.
Exactly.
Did you think that, Jeff?
Yeah, I felt the same way. And then if we're really gonna be like, this is WandaVision, where in the HEW Hockey Sticks was Vision? Like they talked about him. They said like, oh, this is like everybody you lost Vision once. She lost Vision twice. Like these are things that need to be talked about, or at least seen, because they replayed the last scene in WandaVision where she's tucking the kids in. Vision is in that scene. So but it's nitpicky.
One of the things that I was thinking where the story was going, I actually thought we were going to see White Vision, aka the Vision. But I also, and Caitlin and I talked a little bit about this either after the movie or on the show, probably both. Just the idea was she doesn't have the attachment to that Vision, so it wouldn't have had the same repercussion as I'm going to show you these children. So if America had brought, had somehow brought her to where the Vision, White Vision was, that's not who she cares about. It's just sort of like a weird representation of him. I did expect to see him in the movie, though. I think I understood why it wasn't there, but I mean, when he just flies off in WandaVision and everybody was like, well, where'd he go? I'm like, well, he went into Doctor Strange too, obviously. Well, not so obvious. So go ahead.
Here's the thing. Scarlet Witch, and I just thought of it now. Scarlet Witch was looking at every universe, right? Looking for where she could find her kids. Couldn't she have also tried to find a universe with the kids and Vision? Couldn't she have gone, like, why wouldn't she try to find Vision? She could have stolen him too, right?
Yeah.
She stole the kids, or she wanted to steal the kids. She probably could have stolen Vision, reprogrammed him, so he loved her. It seemed odd that she didn't go after him too.
Well, and that's another one of those moments where if they could explain away the fact that, somehow, you'd have to, it's a little convoluted, but that's another one of those, you need to tell us that she can't find Vision in any of the other universes because of, the fact that he was powered by the Infinity Stone, whatever the whole thing is. You need to address that if she didn't, because why did, why didn't she even say like, I'm going to get my kids and then I'm going to go get my husband? You know what I mean? So yeah, I agree with you that like she should want her Vision, but White Vision, was probably, not necessarily what she was looking for.
And she could have gone after White Vision in our universe at some point. She didn't do that either. So I do have one dilemma at the end before we wrap up.
No, please. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, can I? Okay. So the Illuminati killed their Doctor Strange because he used the Darkhold, right?
Yeah.
But he used the Darkhold to kill Thanos.
Yes.
He wasn't evil. He made a bad decision. That seems like the kind of thing you put him in what was that prison? The superhero prison, right? Where the villains all went to?
The Rock or
the Rock, the island.
Yeah. Oh,
I know the thing you're talking about.
Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah.
They could have arrested him and put him in jail for 5 years or 10 years, right?
Or you could put those bracelets on him where he can't use
they had the
magic.
bracelets.
Yeah.
So punish him, by putting the bracelets on or some device that depowers him, but they killed him for trying his best to kill Thanos. Yeah, he made a mistake, but he wasn't an evil Doctor Strange. He was a bad at his job Doctor Strange. But ultimately, they beat Thanos, and their universe was fine. They killed him for destroying another universe. Who cares? It's
it's not your universe. Yeah.
Right. So it just seemed like they killed him. They killed him for a couple of reasons. They killed him to justify arresting our Doctor Strange, and they killed him to show Black Bolt's power because we'd never get to see Black Bolt's power otherwise.
Yeah,
that seemed like the only reason for that scene, and to explain why there was no Doctor Strange in this universe.
Yeah, right. I mean, I think that was important, and getting Carl Mordeau, I thought was nice. I wanted to bring this comment. This sort of is an all-encompassing comment from Ghost 8386. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is an excellent, fantastic, wonderful, badass, dark, trippy, and terrifying movie. The music and the visuals in this movie were amazing. Look, a little Danny Elfman does go a long way. And I think that there's some very good scores in a lot of the Marvel movies, but there's only once in a while do they stand out. And the fact that they turned it into a fight scene, I thought was actually a nice touch. I haven't seen anybody complaining about that yet, but I'm sure it'll come. But we'll see how that goes. But in general, I people are asking me, should I see it in the theater? I'm like, yeah, see it in the theater. I mean, yeah, you can see it on Disney Plus in like 42 days or whatever it is now, and it'll still be about as good. But I don't know. I think some of the visuals were cool. I had somebody that I know who said that they thought there was too much CGI, and I don't know. I thought it looked good. I actually felt like the movie looked good. What didn't look good was that trailer for Avatar 2, but that's not really the time for the conversation, is it? But
it could have been Avatar 1 for me. Like, it literally could have been at any year. It could have came out at any point in time for me.
Yeah, they're so excited to put the trailer for Avatar 2 into, alongside this movie. And I was like, I was not excited for Avatar 2, and you managed to make a trailer that made me even less excited for it. It was just like, it just looks boring.
Yeah. Did I tell you guys I got invited to a screening of the trailer?
I did too. I got invited to it. It was before the movie.
It was Monday.
I would have had to get there at like 4:30, and I had to take my kids. I had to get my daughter's haircut. I was like,
so the company that invites us to the big premieres, they invited me to both of us to go to a movie theater. For me, it was to go into Manhattan, right, which is 40 minutes easy without traffic.
Oh yeah,
and sit for a 2-minute trailer that I couldn't talk about, and then leave the theater. And I was going to see it 3 days later with Doctor Strange. And what you said, Jeff, is because it's basically CGI or a cartoon, really. I mean, for all intents and purposes, it should have been 100 times better than Avatar, the first Avatar. I hate when people call it Avatar 1 because it wasn't Avatar 1, just Avatar.
Right. It's like World War I. Well, we didn't know that there was a second one coming, so it was the Great War.
It was the Great War, right? So. For me, I watched it and I was like, okay, it's the blue people again. Yeah. Like, I think we watched Avatar. Correct me if I'm wrong. We watched it because in the moment, it was visually stunning, ahead of its time. And you went, wow, how did they do this? Now we know how they did it. We've seen everything there is to see. And now it's like, oh, it's Avatar again. I've been on the ride at Disney. It's no big deal. It's like Jurassic Park. When you first saw the Brontosaurus in Jurassic Park in 1993, when they look up and see the Brontosaurus, you're like, oh my God, how'd they do that? Now every kid's TV show with dinosaurs uses the same Tyrannosaurus Rex CGI. It's the same. It's the exact same T-Rex in every movie ever made since then. Where you go, okay, the dinosaurs. I get it now. They're dinosaurs, right? No big deal. Avatar was like, I don't remember the plot being so awesome. I have to see it again. I don't remember how it ended. The tree fell.
Right. I don't remember anything about it because do you guys off the top of your head? I just heard a conversation about this earlier today. I was surprised. Do you know how many years ago Avatar was, the first one?
Isn't it 10 years?
It's more. It's 2009.
Oh, no, I
know.
So
he's been working on this for 13 years because it was originally going to come out in like 2014 or something. But yeah, and he spent so much time on it for something that like literally none of us have asked for this. No one wanted it. Just James Cameron.
There was no, and he made 5 of them or 4 of them all at the same time.
I think there's 4 sequels total, but I could be wrong. But I think it's 5 counting the original one. Yeah.
Name a character.
I can't.
I know an actress. I know an actress. I just know
yeah.
Zoe Saldana's in it. That's it.
Yeah.
she's playing blue and green people. So, okay.
Right. Exactly.
That's
Yeah.
the
I know.
thing.
Yeah.
But-
There's the
but-
one franchise. There's the one franchise where she plays a blue person, the one franchise
Yeah.
where she plays a green person. And then in Star Trek, she gets to look like herself. So
Who's going? I wonder what they're going to do with the Chakotay character. Like, was there a Chakotay character? You don't know. I said it. You don't know if that was a character or not.
you could have made that up. Yeah.
I did. Yeah.
yeah.
Chakotay, great character.
I
Oh
know.
my God, what are they going to do with his personality now that he's older? He's not a teenager anymore. Is he?
Look,
I don't know.
The Avatar property was enough reason for Disney to second guess buying Fox. They're like, wait a minute, we're on the hook for what here? But anyway, well, I know you only have a couple moments, but David, since you were on to talk about Moon Knight right before the finale, just take a moment. Tell our Marvel Movie Talk audience what you thought of the way that Moon Knight ended.
Well, here's where I wish Sam Raimi was involved. I want to see what Jake Lockley's doing.
Yeah, I do too.
Right. So we got the impression that, and I love the Brooklyn accent. I know he spoke Spanish at the end. He's from Brooklyn. Like, he clearly has a Brooklyn, Queens accent when he's talking as Jake. Because I saw comments like, oh, he's the Hispanic one. No, he's not. He said something in Spanish, but he's been talking like a New Yorker the whole time. He's a cab driver from New York.
Yeah.
I like the twist. I thought it was a brilliant Khonshu double tweak, a twist at the end, where he's like, oh, I'll let you two guys off the hook. Absolutely. I won't bother you guys again. But then he gets Jake, which I thought was brilliant.
I thought that was great. I did like that. Yeah.
I thought the Scarlet Scarab never looked better, if you know what I'm saying.
I do.
the action was great. They didn't bring in anybody from the MCU at the end. There was it was strictly Moon Knight. So I liked it. I liked the way they wrapped it up, but didn't. I liked the way there was ambiguity as to, like, well, who's in control now, and why are there two goldfish in there now? Are they having a better time sharing lives? Are they right? Like, I'll get a goldfish, you get a goldfish. They obviously haven't learned about Jake yet. When the show ended, they don't know about
him. Yeah.
They don't know about Jake. So I liked it. I think it ended well. I think we had talked about how are they going to wrap up every single thing in 40 minutes.
Yeah.
I think they did a pretty good job of wrapping it up in 40 minutes. Could have used another 20, but I thought it was good. It left me excited, and I thought bringing Jake in the way they did was brilliant. Finally,
yeah, I think that was one of the things I thought might happen, was that they would save it for the end. And as long as we get more of this story, I think it was a good way to reveal. Like, if season 2 is the Jake season, great. If they don't make any more, I'll feel like we got cheated out of it. But whether Oscar Isaac is interested or not, I think we'll get more Moon Knight. So I'm not that worried about it.
Well, we have multi-dimensions now, multi-universes. Right. You can get John Krasinski to be Moon Knight or whoever.
And Tom Cruise.
Cruise.
Well, David, thank you so much for joining us. Please take a moment and let everybody know where they can find you and your wares, as it were.
Okay, I've been practicing my mirror image. So here I am at David Brody on Twitter, Instagram, and that's all you need. Twitter and Instagram is fine. You can find me on the Elvis Duran Morning Show, nationally syndicated on iHeartRadio, or Z100 in New York, or any one of our 75 affiliates if you live in one of those cities. I do a podcast called The Brooklyn Boys, which is that logo behind me, where my other Brooklyn co-host and I talk about day's events, life events, and complain about them. So this week I'll be complaining about lawyers that have wrestler names. So I saw a billboard that said, like, Billy the Bulldog, you got to hire him. I'm like, I want a guy who went to Harvard. I don't want a guy with a catch. So that's the kind of thing we'll debate. And then I do a Walkers and Talkers podcast, which is a Walking Dead recap show where I try to infuse humor into the show. And as my wife said, that podcast and you watching Walking Dead at midnight when it's too loud in the living room is why I didn't enjoy Zombie Strange. So,
so you did it to her. It's your fault.
I did it to her. Yeah, absolutely.
As he mentioned earlier, Eric Conner is at Count Eric Conner. And Jeff, where can people find you to keep the conversation going?
Yes, and if you want to talk any spoilers, all spoilers can be told at Jeff Lowe Jr. after the movie. If you tweet me spoilers before the movie, you're going to get blocked. That's it. But meet me there. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah. And of course, as always, you can find me at Christian DMZ. Please subscribe to the Blackcast YouTube channel, BLADTCAST. You will get our show, Marvel Movie Talk, and various Star Trek after shows. Mercifully, Star Trek Picard is over, but now we're doing Strange New Worlds. So you can find that and the titular Blackcast there, BLADTCAST. Thank you so much, everyone, and we will see you next time. And as the great Stan Lee would say, Excelsior!
Excelsior.